Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. My name is Janine McGowan, and I design cross stitch as the Blue Flower. It's a lovely summer morning, although technically spring here in northern Nevada still. We've just finished the first big heat wave of the year, which is such a relief. I think the whole garden was like, yay, sun and warm soil, and then, oh, wait, too much, too fast. Need to adjust, which is pretty much the way I feel too. So now we're back to more normal June temperatures. I know the big heat is coming later, but I gotta kind of ease into it. So anyway, I know we're not alone in the heat, and I'm not gonna whine about it, but it's nice to appreciate the slightly cooler temperatures today. Jumping right in, we have stitching in action, and first up, Gail stitched the Gentle Rain, and I love it. I love the way she changed the figure and the dog to reflect herself and her dog. She used mostly the DMC, but also some Roxy floss, which I have actually never used, but I have some in the mail on the way to me that had been sent before I even got this from Gail. So I'm very excited to try that. I think it's more common in Canada than it is here, but I'm really looking forward to trying Roxy floss. So Gail used Roxy floss on this. She stitched it on Swigert Vintage Storm Cloud fabric. I don't know the count. And then she found the perfect thrift store frame and painted it and did the framing herself as well. So fabulous job, Gail. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Next up, we have Christmas Kestrel. This was stitched by Jennifer, and this was actually a free chart from the Jingle Ball last time. I haven't put it up on the website, but I'm probably due to add some of those freebies that have been lagging. So if you'd like to see this one up on the website, just drop me a message and I'll make sure to get that up there for you. I chose a Kestrel. This is all digression from Jennifer's crate stitching. My apologies, Jennifer. I chose a Kestrel because actually the entertainment video I did for Jingle Ball last year, I went to a local animal rescue and rehab facility, and they have a resident Kestrel there. And so I got to do a little interview with her, spend some time with her. So she was the inspiration behind this free design of the Christmas Kestrel. But I love it. I love the way you found a frame where the colors really highlight the differences, the tones in the design. And I'm going to pause for a minute because Rye's barking. But I think it's just very exciting when you're Rye. I really love the finish. I think it's a great little finish, and I'm always a fan of frames because it means I can put things on a wall, which keeps them safe from Rye. Anyway, thank you so much, Jennifer, for sending that in. And again, if you'd like to see that one up on the website, let me know. I will always post these on the website, so if you want to get a closer look at Jennifer's and Gail's stitching and finishing, that's where they are. It's a page called Stitching in Action on blueflowerstitching.com. And if you've stitched a blue flower design, I'd love to see it so I can share your version with everybody else. All right, moving on, Stash Spotlight. Now, I forgot what I'm stitching. And I actually had something to report this time, so it's particularly sad that I forgot. I had mentioned that I've been working on the Things of seasonal designs from Posie, and I had almost finished Things of Spring last video. I had one motif left, and I was bemoaning the fact that I hadn't technically finished before the end of June, or beginning of June, and several people mentioned that I technically had until the 21st of June to still be in spring. So I am pleased to report that I did finish that last motif. I left one element off because I didn't really understand it, so I didn't put it in. But I'm so happy with this, and it means also that I can move on to Things of Summer. Yay, which I'm so excited about. Now I'm hoping to get actual personal stitching time in. These do stitch up pretty quickly, which is nice because I have been derailed onto model stitching recently, so I'm trying to balance getting some personal stitching time in and also getting those models done. But that's what I'm stitching. Now, Stash Spotlight. I was so excited about this too. My friend Rena sent me a photograph, I think yesterday, of this first design because it had a greyhound in it, and as many of you know, I did the year of stitching greyhounds last year. I was thinking about doing another year of stitching greyhounds next year, although honestly, if I did this design, it'd probably take the whole year. This is from Long Dog Samplers. It's called Love at First Sight. It's going to be really hard to see on this tiny picture, but if you're interested, you can look at their website. And according to the notes, it's inspired by these two figures here. It's a greyhound-looking dog and a teeny tiny cat, and they're apparently based on real pets who have been, well, in love at first sight. They've been friends since the first time they met, and so I love that aspect of it, and I love the design. I love that it does have a plethora of little greyhound figures. I particularly love these trees, the way that they're done with the design in there. So it may be that I take the long dog plunge. I'm not sure, but I'm extremely tempted now that this is in my stash. Now, of course, no chart can travel alone, even if it's just traveling by email. So I grabbed two more of theirs. This first one, and I'm going to apologize for my French, Entre, Chien, Loup. And it's about twilight, the time of night where you can't really tell, the difference between a dog and a wolf. It's sort of the liminal space where it's hard to define things. But I also love that it kind of says to me that behind every behind every dog, even our beautiful, elegant Rye, is the spirit of the wolf, something a little bit wilder, a little bit more free, and I really loved that. And then this last one that I got from them is called The Siege of Bunny Castle. And I just love it. It's hilarious. It's done in a sort of medieval style. You've got a greyhound here with a rabbit riding on top and urging it forward. Just some really fun elements. Let's see if I can get you a better look here. But anyway, that's my stash spotlight for this time. And I had a great time on the Long Dog Samplers website with those. All right, world around. This time, it's the northern flicker. This is a bird that is very common here. They're year-round residents here in Nevada, but actually, unlike a lot of woodpeckers, they can be migratory, especially in the northernmost areas of their range. They are part of the woodpecker family, but they are called flickers, even though they are technically woodpeckers. They're unusual among woodpeckers in that they spend a lot of their time foraging on the ground, particularly for insects and specifically for ants, which make up almost half of their diet. Because of that, they have some unusual adaptations. Their bill is a little bit longer, but also a little bit softer than a lot of the woodpeckers because they're not as often drilling into, the sides of trees. They're looking in the ground for ant nests. They have a particularly long tongue among woodpeckers, which is because, and I think all woodpeckers have an adaptation where their tongue kind of wraps around the back of their skull to cushion their skull while they're doing that pounding motion. But their tongue is particularly long and they have sticky saliva, so they can actually shoot that tongue into an ant nest and draw out the ants with that, which I thought was so interesting. They do eat more seeds and nuts than other woodpeckers as well, which they're just a creature of contradictions. The collective noun, you know how much I love those, for a group of flickers is a guttering, a menorah, or a Peterson of flickers. And I feel like there are stories, good stories behind most of those. So I would like to know. It's a very loud bird. And in fact, the first time I saw one, it was because I heard it. And I went searching, through the trees and on the housetops looking for what was making that unusual noise before the first flicker that I saw. They also eat fruits and nuts regularly, which especially in the winter is something that they get better access to. They're one of the few birds, along with grackles and some others, that do something called anting, which means that they will lie down next to an ant nest and actually let the ants crawl all over them, get in amongst their feathers, and it's because ants excrete formic acid, which works as an insecticide for them. So it kills lice and other parasites that would otherwise be much more rampant and troublesome to the birds. So I thought that was quite interesting. I wonder if they then eat the same ants who have cleaned them, or if it's not polite, if you have to move on before you go feasting. Let's see. They claim territory, the males do, by drumming on a hard resonant surface, which is actually another of my first flicker encounters. I used to work in the front room in our dining room, and I heard what I thought was someone knocking on the door over and over and over. And I would go out and look and no one's there, and I'm looking up and down the street. There are no kids. There's no what's going on. And I was actually starting to think in parts of my mind that are super helpful, maybe it's a ghost. Maybe it's something. And then I finally found there was a flicker up in the very top corner of the awning, just hopping down and dinging on that door and then hopping back up again. So I guess it wasn't successful in claiming our front door as his territory, but maybe he got the space in the courtyard. I'm not sure. All right. They also do a little dance to not just claim their territory. It's sort of a mating display. Two flickers will stand and face each other, point their beaks up in the air, and then they will flash their wing and tail feathers. But they do it after the nest is established as well, as a way of showing that this is our spot, this is our turf, and we've got a nest to protect. Both parents raise the nestlings, and they have pretty large clutches, I think, for woodpeckers, 6 to 8 eggs per time. It's actually one of the bigger threats, although they're very common birds. One of the bigger threats to them is the loss of nesting sites, either through loss of habitat or through competition from an introduced species, such as a starling. So it was really interesting, as always, to learn more. It's, boy, the more you look, the more there is to learn, and I think that's just so fascinating. So the northern flicker, there you go. If you live anywhere in the US, you are likely to be able to see one if you can go looking. So question last video was, how do you feel about baby showers? And I have to say, it's actually really encouraging to know that I'm not the only one who struggles with them. As you may know from last video, I was off to a baby shower that afternoon. It was one of the most comfortable ones I've ever been to because it was a large group. It was men and women, and it was, in someone's house. So there were people outside, inside, over here, over there. It was a shifting group, not everybody sitting in the living room on their chairs playing games and watching presents. So it was very nice. You could have as much social interaction as you were comfortable with. And so I was able to find quieter spots to talk to people one-on-one, and all the games were volunteer. So that was nice. But it was also really nice to know that I'm not the only one who finds this challenging. I think certainly in life, and even more so on social media, it's easy to see other people doing things and think, oh, they've got it figured out, and not recognize that they really don't. And it's really nice to know that you're not alone, and to be reminded that what you see is not always the full story. So, well, thank you all for sharing that's something that challenges you as well. All right, this video, sort of in that vein, in a continuation, I was going to ask all of us to brag on ourselves a little bit, which is hard for me to even say, which is why I'm doing it, because it's hard, and say something you're good at. But I think actually what I want to ask is something you're proud of, because I think it's a lot more important to do the things that make us proud that we've done them, rather than the things that we're just good at, which may be natural or may be the result of a lot of work. So something you're proud of. And me getting going, for people who know me, I love The Great British Baking Show. It's my comfort TV. I watch it almost every day for a period of time. It's what I listen to in the background when I'm thinking about things or working, whatever, unwinding at night. And they make a lot of elements in their baking that I have never done. Things like crème pâtissière or a Genoise sponge. And so recently I actually made a cake, and I'm practicing because I have a big birthday coming up this fall, one of those that ends in 0. But I made a cake, and I actually made crème pâte, and I made a Genoise sponge, and it worked. And I was really proud of myself. I mean, it wasn't the most amazing cake, but I made 2 things that were really intimidating for me. And yeah, that was a step for me that was scary, and I did it. So I'm really proud of that, and I would love to hear from you something that you are proud of as well. Okay, best thing. I finally looked up LalaDee Stitches videos, and she's been doing special videos for her In Praise of Pollinators Sal. And it was such a delight. I had never seen her floss tubes before. I'll put the information in the notes. But these special videos in particular were so fun because she did more research on each of the pollinators in the section that was being stitched. And I got to learn a lot, which I always love. She did contact me about the list, and I had to confess that I didn't keep a list because oftentimes when I'm designing, if an element, I'll look up if it works. I don't necessarily keep the record of it past when the design has been released. That's usually when I toss my working file. So it's a good reminder for me to be better about keeping those notes now that I know people may want to know. But it's just been a delight. I'm learning something about my own design with every video that she does. So that's my best thing this week. All right, giveaway. Last video, it's this beautiful chart from Atelier Soed Idee. Again, my French, sorry. And it features all these lovely blue colors. You can see on the back, just beautiful. Lots of big motifs, small motifs. The word in the comments to use was blue, and the winner is Heather Ellis 13. And I believe I have your info, but you might just touch base with me and make sure that I have it right if you don't mind. So I will get that in the mail to you, and make sure you give your dogs a hug from me. All right, give away this video. This is actually one of my favorite charts, and I haven't stitched it yet. Although maybe if I put a dog into it, I can stitch it next year in my new year of stitching greyhounds. This is Next Door from Heartstrings Amplary. Let's get you a good video here. So you can put a dog right there. I have a copy of this as well, so that's why I got two, because I loved it so much. And it says, I wish you lived next door. And I think we all have so many of those friends, family, whatever it is, that you just wish you could see more often. I know I have several, and it would be so nice if we could see all of them. And in the meantime, I'm going to have to stitch this up and send it out to some of those friends, because I wish they lived next door. And if I had all the money in the world, I would move next door to them. So that would be nice. All right, use the word friend in your comments, and we'll pick a winner for that one in the next video. Announcements. I will be attending in person 2 events, Northwest Stitchers in September. I don't know if that one is full, but if you have questions, just reach out to me and I can point you in the right direction to get info. And I'll be at the Shepherd's Needle in October. I've actually posted both online and in the newsletter a little sneak peek of the design. There's a theme for those designs, and I wanted to see if anyone would guess the theme based on the little snippet. So far no one has, but I'm hopeful. It's a little bit cryptic, so it may end up being a total surprise, but I'd love to see if someone can figure it out. I also can show a piece that I did. This was for the Quilter Station in May, and I can show it now because it's been a couple of months, but here we go. This was in the same vein as Forest Home, which I did for Acorns and Threads, but this one is Prairie Home. And I had so much fun designing, and did not keep a list, of animals, plants, wildlife, anything from the tallgrass prairie ecosystem, which I think is so interesting. Got a badger and a number of different birds. Got a prairie chicken here. Lovely Maximilian sunflowers. So it's just been a lot of fun, this one. And I wanted to let you know also that I will release this next summer, but in the meantime, there are some of the kits I believe still available, and Quilter Station is releasing them now, again, since it's been a bit since the event. So if you wanted to get one of the kits sooner than next year, you can go ahead and contact them, and they will be able to hook you up. That's actually it for me. I hope you have a lovely weekend. I'm off to work on reorganizing my office a little, do a little gardening, maybe a little stitching, the usual things, and celebrate my husband tomorrow because it's Father's Day, and just, yeah, enjoy this beautiful weekend that we have a chance to appreciate. So puppy video here at the end if you want to stick around for a couple minutes. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you again in 2 weeks.